come along to our cabin in the wild, 'cause we're in for some good fishing, feeling easy, feeling free. Yes, we're in for some good fishing, Canada.
Every time I hear the sound of a running brook, I get shivers up and down my back. Yeah, there's something about that sound that's almost eerie, yet it has a real calming effect. Hi, I'm Angelo Viola, host of the Fishin' Canada show. You know, it doesn't seem like all that many years ago that I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and waking my dad up, and him and I go trudging off into the bush down to our favorite stream and doing some trout fishing. You know, I can still remember like it was yesterday. I'd be sitting on those banks listening to the hoot owls and wondering why the rest of the world wasn't down here enjoying this with me. But you know, stream fishing's come an awful long way since those days. And on today's show, we're going to try and give you the do's and don'ts and the new modern thinking towards stream fishing and enjoying this wonderful resource that we have available to us.
Rivers, streams, creeks, or babbling brooks. They come in many sizes. They come in many shapes. Fast-moving, ever-flowing white-capped rapids to lazy, meandering, yes, almost slow. Some are wide, some are narrow. Some are cold, dark, and deeper. Still, others are warm, clear, and shallow. But there is one thing that they all do have in common. Fish. But before you can successfully do battle with these river fish, you have to know how to read and truly understand the water. More importantly, you have to know how the fish reacts in this current-filled world. Unlike their lake cousins, these fish must live in an ever-moving environment. A whole new set of rules apply here in this aquatic highway. Yes, these ever-changing waters are home for some of the scrappiest members of the fish world. And this impressive membership includes rainbow trout, speckled trout, brown trout, and several members of the salmon family. Well, to help understand this complex world of currents, eddies, and pools is noted outdoorsman Alf Walker, stream fisherman extraordinaire, and author of several fly fishing books. Joining Alf, our Fishin' Canada Pro staff member Rick Askin, outdoor writer, fishing guide, and field researcher for today's show. Fishin' Canada Pro staffer Peter Pokaluk, professional angler and stream fishing expert. And finally, Fishin' Canada's steelhead specialist Randy Jennings.
Well, you can tell it's a male, Pete. You can just see the jaw.
Little kipe in a jaw. It's a nice fish, Randy.
Yeah, and you just got that hook, just skin there. You got a pair of pliers on, you can just pull that out. Today we're going to show you how to catch these fish. This is a stream run steelhead. It doesn't matter if it's spring or fall, you're going to be fishing the same type of conditions. You've got slack water, fast water, back eddies, light line, long rods. We're going to cover it from A to Z. There we go, Pete.
Lake run rainbow trout, or steelhead as they're more commonly known, are the opening topic on today's show. These freshwater genetic implants of the Pacific Ocean's legendary rainbow trout can be as complex a query as they come.
Slack water or deep pools, slow-moving pools such as the one that we're fishing in right now. Where are the fish here, Pete?
I think before we get into that, Randy, I think what we have to try and decipher is, one, the conditions that we're fishing under, and then match that up with the situation, okay? Now let's talk about conditions. We've had a cold front go through. We've had rain in the past 2 days, which has darkened the water up somewhat. And now the situation that we're faced with, a slow-moving pool. Why, a slow-moving pool?
Well, I think as a general rule of thumb, what we've found in the past, Pete, is normally in early morning and evening hours, probably right through the night, the fish seem to hold at the back of the pool and in the headwaters of the pool.
That's
Now,
right.
I think the primary reason for this is nighttime is when the fish do a lot of their moving. They're at the back of the pool in the morning because some of them are dropping out. But as the day progresses and it gets warmer and the sunlight penetrates better, those fish move up into their deep water sanctuary
Exactly.
until the next evening. So there's two things to key in on right away. In the morning when we come down, we're going to fish the back of the pool, like where I hit the fish this morning, and the front of the pool, like where you lost that one. And then now that the sun's starting to come out, it's getting a little later, we're going to start concentrating a little bit more on the deeper water.
There are several baits to use when pursuing these silvery bullets, but the most common are ones which resemble drifting fish eggs. They come in several shapes and sizes, from a tiny single egg to small sacks of them. Natural or plastic, they can both be deadly, but don't forget the old standby, Mr. Earthworm.
Want to know a nice thing about worms too? Once they grab a worm, they don't let go of it. Roe bags and roe imitations, they'll grab it and they'll let go of it. If you find that you're getting strikes but you're missing the fish in this type of situation, especially in the springtime, switch to a worm. Sometimes you could count to 20 or 30 before the fish would actually let go of it. But the worm feels so natural in their mouth, they just grab it and they'll swim with it.
Other less used but equally successful lures are jigs and small crankbaits.
Well, I just took off a pair of my glasses there, and I noticed you took off yours. While I'm landing this fish, maybe we could just go over the reason why we're wearing glasses like we're wearing them. If they see us wearing them all the time, and maybe a lot of people are asking, why are you using glasses like that?
I think the reason for the glasses, Randy, the Polaroid glasses, you can see right down into the water. You can see any obstructions in the water. And the odd time you can see, fish moving through, moving on up, and where they're holding, especially if the water is fairly clear. It's a little stained here this morning, but you still can see the fish.
It's really hard to pick these larger fish up. As you can see.
I'd rather have that happen
You
than...
could tail them too. That's another way you can get them in. If you have to.
I'd rather have that happen, pick the fish up and drop it that way, than pick it up by the gills and damage the fish.
Mm-hmm. You almost got it. Watch, there's a lot of tightness in that line. Just hang on to that.
There we go.
Okay. You got a good hold of that fish?
Yeah.
Because I'm not holding on to her. That's it. Okay, I got her.
It's a nice fish, Randy. I think I may have underestimated the size of the fish. It's probably around 7 or 8, not 5 or 6.
Yeah. Well, if you want to take my rod here, I'll just show the people exactly what I mean by releasing the fish. I can't emphasize this more when you're releasing a fish. Take the fish, hold it gently, don't squeeze the fish. They'll relax when you hold them by underneath like this. Sometimes it's a good extra precaution to give a good grip on their tail to make sure if they flip around you don't lose them. Get right down in the water and just hold the fish against the current like that. And you can watch her gills starting to breathe, and just let the current flow through her. You don't have to move the fish up and down. You just have to hang on to the fish and let the current go through her. Like a large fish like this caught on light line, It's so crucial that you take the time to release that fish properly. This fish is exhausted beyond any of our beliefs. Like we've never been this exhausted ourselves. This fish is on the verge of death. It's fought so hard. And it's so big and it takes so much time to play out a fish on light line that it's really your duty as an angler to take the time to release the fish in the same condition as what you landed it in. And what I'm saying by that is, don't defeat your purpose. Take your time. If you've got to sit in the river this long, you can see her. She's starting to move now. But this fish isn't ready to go back until she's fully revived.
It's quite a shock catching a fish like that, and it does something to their system. And if you just hold them in the current, let the water flow through the gills, she'll come back.
There she goes. Isn't that beautiful?
Okay, as far as techniques, there's more than one presentation that you can use to take these fish. Right now we're fishing with floats. It gives whatever bait we're using a more natural presentation in this slow moving water. And it's a matter of finding what level those fish are at, by adjusting your float above either your row bag, single egg, or worm, whatever you happen to be using. I've switched to a worm now. You hit that last fish on a worm.
Yeah. I think that's probably the key right there, the float. Because what that's going to do for you is it's going to give you your precise depth that you want to drift at. Not only that, but it's going to give you your precise speed of current. Now the fish know how fast the current's going. They know how fast their forage is flowing down to them. So you've got the right depth, you've got the right speed, and now you've located the fish in the pool. A float such as this, of this size, a little bigger, a little smaller, you could even go right down to a quill float if the water's slow enough, is just perfect for this type of situation.
There's nothing like it. Alf Walker shows us the quiet side of fast water fishing. Drifting a nymph down a lazy, unexplored stream on a bright midsummer morning is a fly fisherman's answer to the Garden of Eden. This type of stream fishing is often referred to as the purest form of angling due to its use of Mother Nature's elements such as wind and current for its presentation. Graceful, sometimes even beautiful, this form of fishing is becoming more popular as man's need for quiet solitude increases due to the pressures of our advanced technological world. But like any other form of angling, this too has its do's and don'ts.
You can normally spot locations where migratory fish will be. They look for a good smooth current where they have comfort and protection. And large boulders and a good flow of water create that situation, because although there's a complex current picture on the surface, the deeper you get down, the slower the water becomes. And there are areas down there where there's practically no motion of water at all, and the fish just hold with their fins in whatever movement is there, and they're not using any energy to swim against the current. Large boulders make a good lie, as do rock shelves and sand. But boulders about the size of a bowling ball and less create tremendous turbulence, and the current is forever pummeling away at the fish, and they'll ordinarily not be found in areas where the riverbed is that composition. So look for large boulders, naturally fairly deep water with a good flow, or rock shelves. That's where salmon will be. Trout, on the other hand, will look for a place where there's both comfort, protection, and food. And a person new to salmon fishing will read water totally wrongly and associate a piece of good-looking water that would be great for trout as being habitat for salmon, and it's not the case. They look primarily for comfort and protection rather than food, which eliminates a tremendous amount of water. On some rivers, you could have 7 miles of river, and in total, probably just a mile of holding water scattered throughout its length. And the fish, invariably, year after year, choose the same places. And anybody familiar with a river will have a favorite rock where he knows the cast is 3 feet above it, the line swings round, and if there's a taking fish, it'll take halfway through the cast. And this is some of the wrinkles of salmon fishing. Local knowledge is very, very important. In fact, we stumbled onto local knowledge as soon as we arrived by being told that too long a leader wasn't working the fly right, and it was essential to put a hitch on the head of the fly so that it would riffle and cause a little wake as it swings to catch the fish's attention. And without that half hitch around the head, the fly doesn't behave in the way that is productive to catch fish.
And like every good student, Randy isn't long in picking up Alf's valuable tips and drifts his fly directly into the lair of this spunky Atlantic salmon. These fish are the most acrobatic of the salmon family and take to a fly extremely well.
One of these fish, I'll tell you, boy, she's got it right down there too. Beauties. Just beauties.
Just rewards after a long day at school.
Look at the spots on her. Oh, yeah. Now there is a nice Atlantic salmon. I know she's going to flip and fall in the water, but
Beautiful,
this is the only way to handle them.
beautiful.
What do you say we keep her for a shore lunch? Or even just to bring back the lodge to have for dinner? Sound like a good idea?
Good
She's got the
idea.
fly right down her, and I don't want to cause her to bleed or anything.
No,
So,
good decision.
yeah,
Absolutely.
just amazing. So, Northwest Brook, thank you. And stay tuned for more Fish in Canada.
Okay, we fished the slack water this morning. We've used single eggs, worms, on floats. What we'd like to do now is move upstream and move out into some faster water and show you how to fish that and fish it productively.
Well, well, well.
Rennie, there's a real nice pool up here. Comes off a flat and drops off a rock ledge into about 5, 6, 7 feet of water in here, then tapers out into this flat.
Right.
There should be fish holding in there with them dropping back the way it is.
What's a good way to approach this pool now?
Like anytime you're fishing a river or a stream, you know, especially for trout, you should always walk upstream. You know, the fish are facing into the current this way here, and you have less chance of spooking the fish. So let's approach it quietly. And I don't know, I think since, you know, this pool may not have been fished this morning, I'm going to start off with a fly.
Yeah, I think I'll join you with the fly. I'm going to try a little pattern out that a friend turned me on to this spring, so we'll see what happens. It looks good.
Wow, it's a gorgeous looking run here.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I'm going to put this back here, out of the way. I've got a little nymph on.
A nymph? I'm using a spring wiggler. I guess they'd be classified as a nymph. They're supposed to be one of the earliest emerging nymphs in the stream, like, you know, in the spring and this sort of thing.
But you see this rock shelf, how it comes off of that flat and drops into this pool?
Well, let's give it a go, Pete.
Just drip some
It's a
line
deep
off here.
run. I can't see any fish or anything, but it's deep. I've had a lot of success with nymphs.
The only difficult thing here is, you know, you have to keep mending the line.
Yeah, I found it tricky, especially with this shorter rod too.
To try and get a slower presentation.
And why don't you explain to the people there what mending is, like what I just did there. Exactly what you're doing when you're mending a fly line. Is it fixing it or?
No, actually what happens, because, you know, your fly line is on the water and the current starts bringing it down faster than what the actual fly is moving. So what you do is just pick it up and move it upstream, just, you know, by doing that.
So you're just compensating for that line that otherwise would drag your fly down the river and wouldn't quite look right otherwise, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. What happens, because the belly of the line is in the water, the current is picking it up, and it's just moving it faster than what, you know, the actual fly is moving.
Mm-hmm.
And the drift just isn't natural.
And even after all the right steps are followed, Pete has one more tactic.
Fishy, fishy in the brook. Come bite my little hook.
Come along to our cabin in the wild, 'cause we're in for some good fishing. Feeling easy, feeling free. Yes, we're in.